We like to call it the Supernatural Hour. And now, our hosts.
Hey, welcome to the Supernatural Hour podcast. I am your host, Raven.
This is Emmett.
And I'm Chad. So for the main topic, it's brought to you by Oteos. They have very good Mexican food, great Mexican food. If you're watching the YouTube on this, you'll see a really delicious looking steak and avocado picture with some information about Oteos. But yeah, they're great Mexican food.
Oh, you're making me hungry.
Oh, I know, right? Except for the avocado part, it's amazing.
The avocados are delicious.
I love avocados.
They are gross. Okay, so our main topic today is paranormal photography, and that is really a broad topic, and it's kind of our favorite thing to do is take a really broad topic and talk about it. But what's beautiful is that allows us to down the road have another podcast where we focus really a lot more deeply on different aspects of it. So,
you want to start at the very beginning, or where do you want to jump in?
There is a song. That's from Sound of Music. I won't sing it for you, but do you want to start at the very beginning? That is from the Sound of Music. There's my movie reference for you for the day. We'll get Harry Potter in somewhere.
You just did.
Yeah, really.
But it wasn't a clever way. That's okay. Depending on who you are, who's listening, you could probably segment out paranormal photography in different ways. But these are the 4 ways that I came up with. And it's not a list. It's just 4 ways.
There are 4 ways. It's not a list?
It's not a list.
Are there bullet points?
No.
Numbers?
There's numbers.
Then it's a list.
It's not a list.
And if they're numbers, they're sequential.
As long as they're
ordered.
13 or 14 of them, that's okay.
No, there's only 4.
4 is good.
Okay, read your list.
It's not a list. Okay, so one of the things, one aspect of paranormal photography is when we go on a ghost hunt, we purposely take pictures hoping to get a picture of the orb that we just saw fly across the room, or hoping to see some weird shadow that wasn't there in the previous picture. So we're purposely trying to find stuff.
Or seeing the orb we didn't see fly across the room.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are questionable, but yes. Then the second one would be, Grandma and Grandpa went to, Portugal for their summer vacation, took some pictures, and they get home and their kids are looking through it and they say, "Mom, what is that?" So strange things just pop up unexpectedly.
All right.
Okay.
Serendipitous catches.
Right. Where someone looks at it later and goes, what is this?
There's a Bigfoot about to grab you. Yeah.
Right. And as I was looking at this, there were some on the internet. There's one almost just like that. There was some forest, I don't remember where it is, Romania or Japan or somewhere, that people don't go into because if you go into it, you don't come out. But these 4 kids, and when I say kids, teens, early 20s, went and they stood just inside this forest, just enough to get a picture, and then they were going to run back out. And they did. They went in, and it was misty and dark and creepy and just kind of a quintessential creepy, haunted forest picture. And, they're showing their friends, "Look at us in this picture, look at us in this picture. We stood in the forest," which I would do. But they were showing people this picture for months. And it took like 3 or 4 months for someone to say, "What is that?" And if you look off to the right, probably 100 feet behind them is this humanoid, but you can tell it's not a human. It's kind of Bigfoot looking. And these kids never noticed that for months.
Not a clue. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So those. So the third one is fakes.
There are fakes? People fake this stuff?
Right?
I can't believe that.
I know, weird, huh? So they want to show some paranormal photography, but they can't. They try to get one, and they want to be really cool, so they fake it.
And there's nothing wrong with being artistic, as long as you call it out as an artistic photograph. That you're doing things and making it look spooky, but it's you're not purporting it as to be a paranormal photograph. It's an artistic work.
Right. And this is kind of the vein that I focused on for the rest of this podcast. But number 4, and I didn't know about this one. I knew about the other 3. But the 4th one is called, and I don't know if I'm saying this right, that's my life on this podcast is mispronouncing everything, is Kirlian, Kirlian.
That's correct. Kirlian photography.
Is that right? Yeah, so
Yep.
Kirlian photography is photography where they take your picture and you're able to see your aura. And there's actually, if you're in Utah County at the Crystal Ray, I don't know if they still do it, but for a long time they had an aura camera there. I always thought it was an aura camera. I didn't know it had an actual name.
So they take pictures of you and can capture your aura.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So those are the 4 kinds that I kind of looked up and ran across in my research. So if you've got some other things to add to my not list, let me know. Send me an email and we can add it. But based on that, Emmett, what did you discover in your research for paranormal photography?
Well, it's weird because besides the technique, how you're doing it, I've noticed that some people just have a knack for it. Okay. And you are a good example of this because I can go through an area and just take some still pictures or some flash pictures in the dark and get nothing. And you know exactly when to pull the trigger. And sure enough, there it is on your picture. So I'm just so impressed because you know when to push that shutter button.
Do you want me to teach you my ways?
Yes, definitely.
You just wildly push the shutter button.
just take a lot of pictures, huh?
You point and you go snap, 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 and hope something shows up.
Oh wow!
I got a new phone, and I am not impressed with the camera on my new phone. I didn't take any pictures the last 2 investigations we did because they're just every single one of them is milky. So I need to remember to take my old phone with me. Ooh,
I think I noticed that too. This latest phone I've got, the pictures just seem better on the last one.
Yeah, so
that's weird, and it's supposed to have better resolution, but it just doesn't have the snap that the old one did.
Right, and everyone's got their strong points. There's 2 or 3 people on our team that are really, really good at EVPs. I could take hours of EVPs. Satan himself could be there yelling into my recorder, and I'm like, yeah, I don't hear it. I thought I had an EVP once, and I was so excited. I sent it to Castle because he's one of these people. And I'm like, listen to this EVP at 13 and a half seconds. And he actually came over to my house a couple days later for another reason. I said, did you listen to those? And he goes, yeah, that wasn't an EVP. But did you hear the 2 that were behind it like a half a second later? And I was like, yeah, apparently not.
That's
so
cool.
I suck at hearing EVPs. Anyway.
Yeah, I catch more on the audio track of my videos than I do on dedicated, voice recorders. So I don't know, but
right. But that's why we have so many people on our team.
Yeah, Nate's really good at it on our team.
Nate's good. Heather's good. Castle's good. There's someone I'm missing. Anyway. If you're listening to this and I missed you, I'm sorry.
You're all good. We love you all.
I'm going to touch upon that in my segment later, but as far as just general spirit photography, it's amazing. You can even set your cell phone camera to. I figured out by playing with the settings, you can get it to sort of emulate a night vision camera, just with the settings that are on it.
Oh, awesome.
But it gets really grainy, and you push you mess with the gamma and you stretch it and it gets grainy, but you can actually use it as a low resolution night vision camera.
Oh, cool.
I had an app on my phone and we did some video that way years ago that was really good, wasn't it?
Oh, this video, you've got to find it. I know you've got it somewhere. You don't get rid of anything. There was a male spirit and 2 female spirits in this house, and he was taking video. And in the video, you can see a man and 2 women walking around. You can see legs. You can see skirts swooshing. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
And we're talking about photography in like the visual range mostly, right? Or
we can do infrared. Anything where you're
see, that's
actually...
what I was thinking. If you want to put thermal imaging on there, there's another type right there. And
I would kind of put that in my 4 general ones as purposely seeking to find evidence. But it's
okay.
But it's definitely I mean, there are so many ways to take, all the different spectrums of light and heat. I had to chuckle about this one investigation we went on where I was using the thermal camera, and how to say this delicately, the thermal camera shows you that you have definitely 2 separate sides to your buttocks.
Apparently, at least I do.
Yeah, there are. It can reveal secrets. That's true.
Alrighty. So, as I was researching for this, there's one thing I wasn't sure what aspect I was going to go down. I thought let's just do kind of a broad subject, and then we can go more in depth. But kind of the thing that really caught my interest, and I thought I got to share this, is a fellow named William H. Mumler. Have you heard of him?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Isn't he the one that got Lincoln's ghost?
Yes.
Yeah, I've heard of this. This
Yes.
is cool.
Okay, hang on. I'll read my notes, but I need my glasses because I'm old now and I need glasses.
Yeah, I read about this guy even before I got into the paranormal, just because it was so interesting and cool.
Well, I knew about his pictures. I just didn't know his name. So his name is William H. Mumler. I just said that. He was born in 1832. He died in 1884. And he took a self-portrait of himself. Wow, that was like super redundant.
Yeah, that's because that would be a self-portrait.
Yes. Shh. Okay. It's been a long day. So, and this picture that he took was in 1860. And in this photo, he sees an apparition of his dead cousin. And this cousin had been dead for 12 years. And so he was really fascinated by this, and he thought, I'm going to, try to get this again. And he took a picture of Mary Todd Lincoln, the one that you're talking about, the famous one. I'm sure everyone has seen this. There's one where there's Lincoln with her, and then there's one where there's Lincoln and her son that passed in the same photo. They're
so cool. It sucks that it isn't what the consensus is, but
right.
it was cool. Yeah.
Very cool. And he says that he didn't know it was her. He says that he was given a false name, and he just went in and took a picture. And this picture he took in 1869. And it shows her sitting down with, and Lincoln is standing there kind of looking over her with his hand on her shoulder.
Ghost Lincoln?
Mm-hmm, Ghost Lincoln. Now, this first came about, the very first person that they think took a picture of a spirit, and we're going to come back to Mumler, but I just want to throw this out before I get too far away from it, is a fellow named W. Campbell. And in 1860, so a year before Mumler's first photo, he was taking a photo of an empty chair. So this is, when photography was, first coming out, and, they're experimenting with it and trying to see what kind of things they can come up with and do with their photography. And he was just taking a picture of a chair in a room because, as you know, anyone who's listening to this knows that back then exposures would sometimes take half hour to 45 minutes. You'd have to sit there, which is why everyone looks grumpy in old pictures. But when he developed this picture, there was an image of a small boy. And I have never seen this photo. I'm going to call it legit, though, just based on the knowledge that he tried to reproduce this, and he couldn't. He could not replicate. And he never left the room. While the picture was exposing, he was just sitting there taking notes and making, potions or whatever. I don't know what you do in 1860 while you're waiting, but he said he didn't leave the room. So it's not like a little boy could have come and sat in the chair for 2 minutes and then left. And, a little boy isn't just going to sit in a chair for 2 minutes and then leave. They're going to climb on the chair and climb over the chair and climb under the chair and hang off the. So, the thing about Mumler is Mumler had a lot of spirit photos. It wasn't just, he happened to catch Abe Lincoln with Mary in a photo. He had photo after photo after photo after photo after photo.
Didn't they prove that one of them wasn't even dead yet?
I think so.
In the photos, yeah.
Yeah. And you get two schools of thought on Mumler. One school of thought is, it was during the spiritualist movement, and they were supposed to be novelty photos.
It was very popular, too.
Yeah, very popular. And, some people say, no, he tried to push them off as real. And to me, it's like you get too many of them, that disqualifies it as real in my book.
Yeah.
Where they're all perfectly posed. So Chad and I actually watched a really interesting YouTube video on this. And there was a couple, and they tried to recreate the Mary Todd Lincoln photo. Not actually like with Abraham Lincoln or anything, because he's dead.
But techniques that would be able to do something like that.
So they had it was a man and a woman, and the man sat in a chair with like a black hat on, kind of like Mary Todd Lincoln's, and had kind of a black cape on, they tried to reproduce it as close as they could to her. And then they had the woman standing behind him, with her hand on his shoulder. And they found a man who, for a hobby, does that old-fashioned photography like they would have done in the 1860s. And they discovered that if they exposed the film, and had the main subject in the picture the whole time, but then had the other person go in for just
a portion of that, a fraction of the time.
Yeah, maybe 10 minutes of the half hour. It was enough to put the shadow of that person there and look like a ghost picture. So they were able to recreate it. What I don't understand is how they got Abraham Lincoln in the photo, unless he did some
double exposure kinds of things with
the same sort of a thing with
a different actor. We'll call it a different actor with the other, and then you have the two different negatives, lay them over each other, and then do your.
So that's going to be a little bit of negative work going on there. They did say
because they were on glass slides. And you could lay the two glass slides over each other and have the one and position them. It'd be kind of like Photoshop.
Yeah, and they did have on that video. They did show where people did some sleight of hand with slides, and I don't think it was Mumler. There was a different photographer who was passing off these photographs as real. The same kind of photographs. And they said, the way they actually went to court, and the way they did it through sleight of hand, they could say, no, look at this negative, there's nothing in it. But the sleight of hand, they could, put it in, and it was really interesting.
The same thing was going on in Europe too, wasn't it?
I think so.
Quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, the spiritualist movement, was popular in both North America and Europe during the 60s, 70s, 80s, because of a lot of the death, especially in America with the Civil War and a lot of the things that went on. People were wanting to connect with their family, and spiritualists, some of them took advantage of that. Some of them may have been, had gifts, but kind of that idea of people didn't want to let people go that, that they didn't have a final time to be able to, have a funeral with or do those things. And so there was a lot of that kind of.
That whole spiritualist thing, that was even popular, well into the first third of the 20th century. And
yeah, Houdini was big on debunking things and working with that. And he and his wife actually kind of had a code, because a little bit of a tangent, but there was a lot of, after he had died, he and his wife had before he died, he and his wife had had a code together to be able to verify if he could come back and speak with her. And they went to different mediums every year for like 10 years. She went to them, and nobody was ever able to convince her. And after the 10 years, they said, no, it's, he couldn't do it. But that was an interesting one with Houdini and his wife. And
Oh, that is cool.
I know that Arthur Conan Doyle was a supporter too.
Oh yeah, no, they were. It was very, very popular with the seances and everything. It was something that was very important to them at that time. I mean, it still is now, but
And that was all emulsion photography. They didn't have Photoshop.
right.
Yep.
So, Emmett, did you have anything else you wanted to chat about before I talk about something a little more recent?
No, go right ahead. This is interesting.
One thing that I don't know that I want to say we pride ourselves on, but one thing, we try to be professional, and if we can't verify something, if we can't verify an EVP, there's an EVP that is actually really, really good, but I think it sounds like me. And I don't remember saying what the EVP says, but, I don't have this perfect catalog of every word I utter 24/7, And so, and the person that took it actually sent it to me and said, is this you? Because it sounds like me. And we know that spirits can make themselves sound like other people. But it's one of these things. It's like, I don't know. I don't remember saying that, but I don't remember not saying that. And it does sound like me. So even though it's a fabulous EVP, if it is an EVP, we don't know. And so we don't use it because it's probably me.
right.
And so we've had people send us photos. I know at one point Castle he's got a whole video. We need to put that up on YouTube. He's got a whole video kind of about, fake photography, and it's really interesting. He did a nice job putting this together. And we had somebody a while ago send us an EVP, or not an EVP, a photo. They took it in their home. It's a female spirit coming out of their bathroom. And it's just clear as a bell. It's a woman. She's got this long dress. You can see the folds in the dress. You can see facial features. You can see hands. And it took Castle about 5 minutes to find that picture on Google. And it's like, yeah, no, folks. This is, this is a fake. So
Nice try, but no
yeah.
thank you.
We
Yep.
always tell people.
Yeah,
on
they
our-
laid that image over another one with Photoshop to kind of do it, but it's like funny how that woman here is in a house, and here she's standing next to a tree, and in this one and it's an identical image.
Yeah, and it's not hard to find images on Google. It took, like I said, it took Castle like 5 minutes to find it. So if you see a picture that's too good to be true, it probably is, because most spirit photography is going to be very subtle. It's going to be a shadow. It's going to be partial. And I'm not saying that someone can't get a fantastic picture of a spirit. I'm sure it's happened. I've seen a few here and there that I go, I think that's legit.
We have some pretty interesting ones, both in the YouTube photos that we run with our reel, and also out on the WISP site, where we have a number of those, and EVPs where you can go out to the WISP site. And
Well, there are some really good photos out there that nobody can really debunk yet. So there are good ones, but you're right. They are very rare.
Right. There's one I saw, and I found this one years ago, and I wish I had saved it. It's one of those accidental photos that we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
There was a couple. They were on vacation someplace in the Caribbean, and they just had someone snap a picture of them sitting at this old bar. And when they got home and they were showing the pictures, right next to them is a guy that looks like a pirate, and not with a big feathery hat like Jack Sparrow, but just like a bandana around his head.
a parrot and an eye patch, and just going arg.
Yeah, on the hook. But he had a bandana around his head. He had kind of a blousey shirt, some necklaces on. Because I saw the picture, and when you look at this picture and you look at this man, if you just glance at it, it looks like just someone sitting next to them at the bar, right? But when you look at it, there is something wrong with his eyes and his facial expression. It gave me the worst heebie-jeebies. I think that is a legit picture. Because you could see a couple other people in the picture, and, so it wasn't like it was bad lighting, because the couple, the husband and wife, they looked normal, nice, happy, bright eyes, smiling. Of course, they're posing for the picture, but you can see off on one side other people sitting and talking, because it's a bar. And everybody else looked fine, but there's just something about the expression on this man's face and his eyes. They were just black and just vacant and not like some drunk wandered in and he's sitting there, he's high, with a glazed. And it wasn't even that. There was definitely something non-human going on there. It was creepy, and I have searched the internet trying to find that picture again. I can't run across it. If I run across it, I'm going to save it so fast your head will spin. But that was a creepy picture.
Just the sheer number of security video captures like that, just serendipitous captures. They're and a lot of them are look really good. It's hard to debunk them, right. and trail cams and nature cams, and they're just who would be out in the middle of nowhere trying to fake something on a trail cam,
right. So I actually have a little notation of trail cams and surveillance cams under strange things and everyday photos. And
yep, cool.
It's interesting. You just need to be very, very careful with those too. We had a former team member post something not too long ago, just on his Facebook page, and something from his Ring camera, and he says, "What is this?" And so I looked at it. And I was trying to do homework and trying to do a million things, so I didn't look at it very closely. But there's something, it's long and skinny and segmented, and it kind of comes from the top left and just kind of goes diagonal down to the bottom right. And I looked at it a couple times, and I couldn't tell what it was, but you could tell it was something.
Out of focus bug.
But it just the way it moved, but it just kind of drifted. I mean, it wasn't...
Like flying or floating or...
Yeah, and I don't remember the comment I put on. But two other people I know that are investigators mentioned things, and one of them said a dragonfly. And I went back and looked, and I thought, yeah, it could be a dragonfly, but again, the way it moved, to me seemed too smooth. This is all subjective, and I'm not trying to say that that it is or isn't. And then what was the other thing? Oh, and then someone said, "Oh, it looks like maybe a spider web with some dew on it that it was just kind of floating." And to me, that one made more sense with how the movement of it, because it just was kind of a slow descent. To me, where a dragonfly would kind of be more jerky and and buzzy. So, I went back and looked at it, and I thought, yeah, it could be either of those. I personally am going to discount the dragonfly just because I thought the movement was too smooth. But yeah, you just have to be very careful. So going back to faking evidence, one of the things we tell people on our public investigations is if you get evidence and you want to share it, awesome. We would love to see it. But we say, please don't send us fake stuff, because we want people to say, oh, Advanced Paranormal, they're an honest group, who only shares, actual evidence that they get.
Yeah, we're not going to promote anybody's hoax.
Yeah, so...
Forget it.
Exactly. So, if you get something, great. If you don't, try again. I don't get something every single time I go out.
There's too much real stuff out there actually happening to, you could work harder on the fake than you would actually going out and getting some real evidence, and you'd have more fun getting the real thing too.
Yep. It's we go on investigations, and sometimes we get some awesome pictures, but no audio and no feels. And sometimes we get, pushed and pinched and poked, but no audio and no pictures.
Yep.
And we could go on with all the scenarios, but just because you don't get a picture this time doesn't mean you won't get a cool picture next time. And it's a numbers game. The more pictures you take, eventually you're going to catch something. But don't fake it. If you want to do something really creative and say, hey, look, I'm doing some fun, paranormal looking art, awesome, knock yourself out. Those can be fun, but don't portray them as real, because that's just stupid.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if you do go out to wisps.org, you can find our media vault out there, and we have a number of videos and some of the pictures that we've done and some of the investigations. So you can go out there and look at those. There's a video of a bad fake. It's one that was done that Raven was just explaining about. There's some things out there.
Yeah, we got two.
Several
we
YouTubes
got
out there
two
on that.
really bad fakes. I mean, they're good fakes, but they're bad fakes.
Poorly done fakes. But anyway, so yeah, go out there and take a look at what we've got out in our media vault.
Yeah, I would like to talk about this more, get more in depth into some of these aspects, but the last thing I want to say about the fake pictures or any spirit photography is when you do take pictures, always make sure you take 2 or 3. If you need to put your phone on short bursts so you get, 5 to 10.
That's a good point. Before and afters are important.
Yeah, and usually 3 or 4 or more, because, if you can kind of sometimes see something in the first frame, there's nothing in the first frame. Second frame, there will be there. Third frame, it might be there. Fourth frame, it's not. And
Right.
it just really helps with
Yeah,
help
and
identifying
compare
things.
and look at everything. Look at everything. Don't just look at the picture. Look at every, put it on your computer screen so it's big. Make sure your room is dark, because there's things you can see when it's dark that you can't see when
Look
it's
for
light.
shadows, look for...
And look for everything. All right, so I think that's all for this episode of Paranormal Photography. So much fun, so much to do. We'll talk about more of it at another podcast one of these days. Alrighty, well, you know what? If you are listening to us and you take the time to listen to us, whether this is your first time, your 100th time, or whatever, we appreciate you, and we just want you to know that.
Yeah, share us with your friends. Go out and subscribe on our YouTube channel.
If you become a Patreon, we send you presents.
Yeah.
Just saying. All right,
Can't beat that.
stay spooky, my haunty friends.
See you next time.
Hey, have a good night.
You've been listening to the Supernatural Hour at AdvancedParanormal.com. The Supernatural Hour is part of the Radio Ronin Network, found at RadioRonin.com. Copyright 2021 by Advanced Paranormal Services.